In my previous video, I talked about first-person shooter campaigns that have relatively grounded objectives and missions throughout their runtime. However, something that I regret not mentioning is my favorite entry into, honestly, my most influential game franchise, Halo Reach. The series, often characterized by over-the-top heroism and power fantasy goodness, is very rarely focused on when it comes to the idea of grounding a first-person shooter campaign. I can't exactly blame anybody, I mean, come on. This is their series best known for the big green spaceman blowing up a massive floating hula hoop that the space Taliban worship as a relic to their ancient lords. That being said, Halo Reach is probably the second most grounded Halo campaign that I've ever played, beaten out only by ODST. Yes, you're still fighting aliens. Yes, you're still playing a cybernetic super soldier. Yes, George is such a mega chad that could never actually exist in this bleak, dark world. However, the grounded nature comes from the missions that take place and the context behind them. The mission that I think best showcases this is the fourth one down, Tip of the Spear. Now, there are other candidates that could fit this mold, including the one before this mission, being a scouting and sabotage run. Yet, when I think of missions that mimic the most grounded battles and FPS campaigns, I tend to associate them with the topic of today's video. So the mission opens up pretty simply with a regiment of UNSC Marines driving warthogs into battle. They are accompanied by a supporting contingent of Falcons in the air, and both forces containing members of the Spartan squad known as Noble 6. Noble 2 detonates the charges that were planted on a pylon in the distance, which was a stealth generator able to cloak large areas from sensors. These are actually rigged by Noble 3 and Noble 6 in the previous mission, Nightfall. After this is done, UNSC and Covenant forces clash on the battlefield as a large group of Banshees engage the charging hogs and birds, and suddenly a bridge collapses before Noble 2 and 6 can cross it in their Warthog, causing it to crash on the other side, killing their gunner and forcing the Spartans to proceed on foot. Already the Nobles have a gauntlet to get through, 2 destructive fuel rod cannons and a few squads of elite Jackal and Grunt infantry surrounding them, all on top of a hill. After defeating the Covenant resistance, Kat and the Lieutenant are given a Warthog with a missile launcher and a new objective: take down 2 anti-air turrets that are hammering into UNSC air support, making it difficult for troops to be deployed and air units to harass the enemy. The Nobles drive around the ridge and through some canyons until they eventually find the first AA gun. They battle it out with the surrounding coveys, a Revenant here, a Ghost there, and some skirmisher snipers, but 6 is able to launch a grenade into the plasma gun's loading system, destroying it from the inside. Afterwards, the Nobles make their way to the next objective, which takes them through a mining facility where UNSC forces are engaged in a skirmish with Covenant, who have set up fortifications inside, and more importantly, a high-value target, an elite zealot class, is supposedly stationed within. Carving their way through Ungoy and Kigyar, they eventually find this high-ranking Singhili before taking him out and proceeding to their next objective, the next AA turret. I feel like at this point I should highlight just what happened. As far as this goes, it sounds like I'm just listing a bunch of loosely related events. However, this all ties into what I'm talking about in regards to this mission being grounded. Anybody who has a strategic mindset can probably already pick up on what's going on here. First, you have a stealth pylon being destroyed, which is used by the Covenant to hide their forces from these scanners by the UNSC within a large range. In war, awareness is as powerful as any gun. Then you're supposed to take out 2 AA guns, which anybody who studies modern war probably knows that air superiority can provide much needed support to your troops in the form of drop shipping reinforcements or launching airstrikes against fortifications. Halfway through the objective, you find and eliminate a high-ranking VIP, which aside from dealing a blow to enemy morale, that also means that communications between troops is hampered, making it easier to disorganize and mop up resistance. Do you see it now? All of these objectives so far haven't been some big heroic push to end the war or to save Reach. It's just one objective after the next to make the battle easier for your side, which doesn't even work in the end, but that's skipping ahead. So after taking out the HVT, the Nobles make their way to the next AA gun, which is heavily guarded by a combined force of skirmisher and grunt forces as well as a pair of hunters. After destroying the gun and clearing an LZ, Noble 6 gets on a Falcon spoken with Noble 5 before flying to their next objective. What is it? Disabling the shields protecting a massive spire that was initially hidden by these stealth pylons. What's it for? Teleporting Covenant troops from an unknown location. After their Falcon crashes, George and the Lieutenant make their way to the spire, dealing with light, air, and ground resistance before ascending the spire one way or another. After eliminating the grunts and sword-wielding elite commander, Noble 6 disables the shield and escapes, leaving the UNSC frigate known as the Grafton the ability to discharge a single mech round to destroy the spire before the very thing that the spire was teleporting troops from decides to make its presence known, a massive Covenant supercarrier. You could argue that the use of teleportation in a big fuck-off supercarrier using a massive cloak is, well, beyond far-fetched, but let's strip away the specifics and look at it more practically. You are destroying a structure that is used to ferry troops one way or another from an enemy ship. You could easily replace this with destroying a port or blowing up transport ships so they are unable to reinforce the main bulk of their army, in essence, making the battle easier for your side. And then take into account that you're not even blowing it up, you're just making it so that way air support can deliver a payload to blow it up, and that's one of multiple spires, which the rest of the UNSC also has to destroy in a much larger battle. All of these activities, all of these objectives are ones that, rewriting some of the context, could easily be put into any other setting. Unlike stopping a giant spider tank from rampaging through a city, purging a gas mine of the space version of the r/atheism subreddit, or slugging your way through a horde of annoying-ass parasites so that a floating nerd can show you his Forerunner hentai collection. Now don't get me wrong, I love, well, almost all of those missions. Fuck you, library. But as somebody who loves grounded FPS objectives, I think this mission really takes the cake. So what do you think? I'd love to hear from you. For now, this has been me. Bye.